Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Jill, and I'm the Training and Education Manager here at VerticalResponse. Today, I am going to take you through embracing social media for your nonprofit. Just a couple things before we get started. First of all, I've had some issues this morning staying connected on the phone with the GoToWebinar stuff. Hopefully, now that I've started the broadcast, it stays connected. But if at some point you don't hear me, just wait a second because I'll be calling back in. I can tell if it's disconnected or not, so I'll be able to come back. I'll also put something in the chat notice if I do get disconnected. So far, this is the longest I've been connected to the phone this morning, so it's a good sign. Also, this will probably be about 45 minutes or so, the webinar. At the end, there will be time for Q&A, so if you think of questions along the way, please feel free to type those into the box that you see in the GoToWebinar window, and I will be happy to answer all your questions at the end of the webinar. One of the questions I get a lot is this being recorded? And the answer is yes, I am recording this, so we will get this up on our resources page at our website, hopefully by the beginning of next week. It depends on the person who gets it up there, but there will be a recording, so you guys can take a look at this. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And like I said, any question you have, feel free just to type that into the box. So first of all, this is what we're going to go over today. We're going to do kind of an overview of social media, and then we're going to go into 4 of the big players right now in social media with some tips on using them. And then I have some tools and resources for you. So first of all, you guys should already know the answer to this question because I just said it. But what is the most common question that I get at webinars? And it's, is this being recorded? Everybody asks me that question because people want to go back and take a look at things that they might have missed. So that's totally understandable. The next most popular question that I get at a webinar, no matter what the topic, is, but I'm a nonprofit. How can I do this? So I do a few nonprofit webinars, but what I want you guys to think about when you're planning out your strategies for your marketing, whatever it is, for your email marketing, for your social media marketing, is that you're a business, and anything you see people doing or anything that you read on our blog or anyone's blog or in a guide or anywhere that you might be looking for tips on marketing your nonprofit is you can also do what any for-profit business is doing. And for the most part, you are in a similar space. You are asking people to give you money. Unlike the Gap, they don't get a t-shirt unless maybe you have an event that they might get a t-shirt for. But you're still asking people for some time, for some money. And so whatever anyone is doing who's in retail or any other type of for-profit business, you guys can use the same ideas and use that to market your nonprofit. So keep that in mind. All the examples I have today are nonprofits, but when you look at the webinars that we're doing or when you're looking at guides, keep in mind that just because it doesn't say nonprofit on it doesn't mean that you're not going to get anything out of it. So I want you guys to kind of broaden your approach to what you're thinking about, what you can do to get your nonprofit out there. So one of the things that I want you to think about are some of the big guys. So for example, Coca-Cola, American Eagle Outfitters, Starbucks. These are really big companies, right? Let them do the work for you. Starbucks and Coca-Cola are big on social media. They've done a lot of stuff. They have millions of followers on their different platforms that they're using. Does that mean because you're not selling Coke or coffee that you can't use their ideas? No, of course not. They have some great strategies that they're using. Go take a look at some of these big companies. See what you think would work for you, your followers, for the people that you're trying to get their attention. And then see what seems to be successful for them as well and apply it to your own marketing strategies. You don't have to come up with all of these things all by yourself. There are a lot of people who have deep pockets testing this stuff and seeing what's working And you guys don't have to spend all the time and money and effort in figuring out what's going to work. You can use the things that other people have already found to be working for them. So this is an example of Starbucks, and they do some really fun things in their Twitter feed. This is from Twitter. One thing Twitter started doing earlier this year is showing pictures in the feed. So it's a little more like Facebook where you can see pictures. You don't have to click on links. And so when you see things like this, you can share pictures. Look, it just says it's going to be a good day, and it's a pretty picture. You can take pictures like that and share that with people. It's great for engagement, sharing things like that, a little behind the scenes, and something that's not asking someone to do something. You're not asking them to volunteer or donate or anything like that. You're just sharing something. And that's one of the things about social media that can really help people engage with what you're doing on the social networks is if it's something that gets their attention and that they really like, but it doesn't involve them having to do a lot. Because you're going to ask them to do stuff, but everything you do on social media shouldn't be about the ask. This is the second one here. This is great. I love that they did this fill in the blank question, and then they have a picture. Whoops. Um, and then they also have hashtags that they're doing for people who are getting involved with a nonprofit that they're working with. So they have 2 hashtags in there for that. And then they just have some fun stuff about their products, how to pronounce one of the coffees that they have. So it's not all about selling. It's not all about trying to get people to do something for you. Share some fun stuff. Use hashtags, and we're going to talk about that. And get people involved in what you're doing through your social networks. So let's talk a little bit about social media. I have 2 slides that have some information about nonprofits and social media. So first of all, the one that you should probably look at is, whoops, keep hitting the wrong button. Sorry about that. Is this nonprofits do great when it comes to fundraising on social networks. So on Facebook, for example, you can get people to donate through your Facebook posts, the things that you're sharing on Facebook. And there's a variety of ways of doing that. You can do like causes. They have causes if you're doing an event fundraising. So there's a variety of ways that you can use Facebook or really any of the social networks to help get people to donate. Also, there's lots of nonprofits using social networks, so you're not the only one out there, and you're not the only one looking for help on how to do it. Also, this is a good stat too. 41% of the nonprofits that were surveyed for this said that developing a detailed social media strategy is what helped with their success. That's a big chunk of people who have sat down and planned out what their social media strategy is going to be. So even though it might take a little bit of time, instead of just winging it, having a plan, what is your goal for having social media marketing? What is it that you're trying to do? Are you trying to drive more people to your website? Are you trying to get more people to come to your events? Are you trying to get more volunteers? Are you trying to get more donations? Are you trying to do a little bit of all of that? What are your goals around the marketing that you're doing for your nonprofit on a social network? And then sit down and figure out how you're going to achieve those goals. So a little bit of time and a little bit of thought going into that can give you a lot of success. So getting started with social media, and I am assuming that all of you are on Facebook at the very least. We saw on that slide 98% were on Facebook. And with a gazillion people having a Facebook account. I don't know, it's somewhere over 1 billion. They reached 1 billion earlier this year, and then I stopped keeping track of the number of people on Facebook. But with that number of people on Facebook, most companies have a presence at the very least. You may not be updating it as often as you should be or doing what you want to do with your Facebook, but you probably have that. As far as the other social networks go, you may or may not be using that, but there are a variety of things to look at for all of these. So the first thing to keep in mind is that there are a ton of social networks, and I'm only going to cover a few of them today, but there are a lot of them out there, and you do not have to have a presence on all of them. Some of them are starting to do things that are more business oriented, like Instagram, for example, have set up business pages. so that businesses can actually have more of a presence on Instagram rather than just having pictures going by. But you can use Instagram for your social network if you find that your followers and the people that you're serving are using Instagram a lot. And that's the thing you want to keep in mind when it comes to social media for your nonprofit. You want to be where your target audience is. And that's true for any business. Doesn't matter if you're for profit or nonprofit, you want to be where your customers are. So figure out where that is. And like I said, with over a billion people on Facebook, Facebook is kind of a no-brainer. But beyond that, you can find out what your target audience is, what you're trying to do with your social strategy, and then figure out which ones you should be on. So again, you don't have to be on all of them. Pick a couple. Maybe start with two, Facebook and then another one, and then see how things go. If you find that you're really successful with those two platforms and there's another one that you find that your followers or your target audience are really active on, then go and try and figure that one out. If you're finding plenty of success with just two, that's fine. But you don't have to be on all of them because your followers are probably not on all of them, but you can find that out. You can ask people. You can post on Facebook. So you guys are on Facebook, and what other social networks are you using? You can include it in email marketing. When you have an event, ask people. You can ask the people that are your target what social networks they're using, so that you can make sure you're there and providing the information they need where they need it. So figure out where to go and then start building from there. So, one of the things that people run into a lot that's a problem when it comes to email marketing and social media marketing is content. Content is a big thing that trips people up when it comes to marketing their nonprofit or their small business. And the reason is that people think that they don't know what to put up there. But you have tons and tons of things that you can share with people on social media. And I think as a nonprofit, you guys actually have a slight advantage over something like the Gap or a retail location because you also have things that you can get people involved with. So not only are you maybe selling some products as some nonprofits do, or asking for donations, you also have events that you can share, which can really be engaging to people, especially if they've attended the event. And you might also have something like petitions that you have people signing, or things that are going on in Washington for your particular organization. And that's great content as well. Um, but the important thing about anything that you're doing when it comes to marketing is the content. Content is king, and content is what keeps people coming back. So make sure that the information you're sharing on Facebook, on Twitter, is something that your followers will really enjoy, will really get something out of. Um, so there's a lot of things to do, or a lot of information you can share. One of the things to keep in mind is that when you're sharing information on social networks, you don't want it to be all about the sell, or in your case, all about the donation. You need to have a balance of fun but interesting things that you're sharing and the part that you're trying to run a business. Usually, you want it to be about a quarter of your posts should be about your business, about your nonprofit, what you're doing, asking for donations, asking for volunteers, whatever you're looking for that is core to your business. A quarter of your post should be that, which leaves about 75% free to share whatever. And some of the content doesn't have to be what you've created. You can share other posts. You can share content from other sites. Share a blog post that you found that you really liked. Share pictures. Pictures are very engaging to people. Um, so I have a list on here of some things that you can share. So if you are sending out a newsletter, share your emails on your social networks. There's a link in most emails that allow you to share it on whatever network you're using. So share your emails, because that can put your organization and your newsletters in front of people who don't normally see it. And that can help drive people to your emails where you have a lot more information probably than what you have on your social networks. Um, Videos or photos. Videos and photos are the things that people really interact with the most. And those are the things that tend to get weighted higher in the feed as far as the Facebook algorithm goes. So think about sharing videos and photos. Of course, you have to keep in mind when it comes to sharing things like that, that if there's children involved in your organization, make sure you have permission, or maybe share photos that have less people in them, just so that you're not putting pictures that might bother someone in your organization. Asking questions on Facebook is a great way to get people to interact. People love answering questions. It's a good thing to use. It's a good tactic for your content. I showed you that fill in the blank Twitter thing that Starbucks had done. People really get into those kind of things. So share a question. Make sure you're looking at the answers that people are giving you when you're asking those questions. Any service that you offer, also if you're selling products, especially this time of year, start sharing that kind of information on Facebook, on Twitter, on Pinterest. Again, if you have volunteers, if you're having an event, if you're looking for volunteers, using social networks is a great way to spread the word about what's going on. That's just a handful of things that you can do there. So let's jump into Facebook specifically, and we're going to take a look at 4 networks today. So, Facebook, you want to stay pretty active on your Facebook account. You want to post regularly, and that's going to be true for all of the social networks. You need to post regularly, and I'm going to tell you what regularly means. But if you're not a consistent poster on your social media networks, people are going to lose interest or forget about you. And it's entirely possible, especially on Facebook with their mysterious algorithm, that your posts won't get seen by as many people because they're not interacting with you. So one of the things that you have to keep in mind with Facebook is that your posts have to have some interaction with them. The more people who are interacting with your posts, the more likely people will see them. I mean, by Facebook. Facebook will make sure that makes it into people's streams rather than not. Um, when you have a page for your nonprofit, you can also post as your personal profile on that page so that there's more information coming through your feed. Share content that isn't specific to your organization, but maybe things that people who are following you would be really interested in. It really makes you look like you know what's going on, and you do, of course. But it makes you look like a resource for people when you're able to give this type of information. They don't have to go find something out about maybe another event or something. Giving this kind of information on your Facebook page can be really helpful. One of the things that Facebook does, actually they all do, is they have a business section. So I have that on here. There is also help for nonprofits, and they even have a PDF specific to nonprofits using Facebook, which is a weird URL. I started to put it on here, but it was really weird. But you can find it. You can search for nonprofits on Facebook and find that. But their business page has tips on how to grow your business using Facebook. Some of it involves using the sponsored posts where you pay for people to see your posts, and that's certainly a legitimate way for people to start finding your organization. It's not super expensive, but a lot of their tips do involve that, just so you know. But there are tips that don't involve you spending money with Facebook. So I would strongly suggest that you check that out. Also, they have a lot of help for nonprofits with their business pages as well. So they do have some suggestions there. I'd suggest you check that out. So some ideas for Facebook updates. Again, photos and videos, super important because people really interact with those. If there's something happening, have a short post about that. Even though there isn't a limit on Facebook as there is on Twitter for your posts, you should still make them fairly short because you'll lose people's interest if you go too long. If there's anything happening in your organization, of course, you want to share that, especially if you have events coming up, especially this time of year, too. You probably have events, and if you don't have an event, you're doing end of year donation promos. So maybe you're doing an email or posts like that. It's a good thing to share on Facebook because the people who are following you can see that information. I know most businesses do donations at the end of the year, and my company is no different. We do donate to nonprofits at the end of the year. So having people aware of your organization, especially now, gives you a better chance of getting some of those donations. If you're having any kind of special, like I said, if you do sell products, again, if you're having some kind of promotion or special, share that information. If you have a conference that's coming up and it's the early bird specials going on right now, share that information so that people can see it and can come and find that information. If you have a blog, of course, you want to share that on Facebook. Even if you don't have a blog, if there's a blog that pertains to the audience that you're serving, share that type of information. Also, if you guys get mentioned in the media, share that. People love to see when good things are happening to the businesses and organizations that they're interested in. So there's a lot of great ideas and a lot of information you can share on Facebook. Here is an example. My screenshots are a little blurry. It's hard to get the width of the all of these social networks to fit in the little slides on PowerPoint. Um, so there's a couple things that they're doing great on here. First of all, over here, they were having a golf tournament, and there's still time to register. That's what they're sharing, and they're sharing a link where you can go do that. So again, if you have an event coming up, share that kind of information. This next one is a webinar, free webinar that they're touting, and it wasn't one that was put on by them, but it's relevant to their audience, so they were sharing this information. So that is, again, something that makes for great content on your social networks, is something that's going to be important to your audience, but maybe not specific to what your organization is doing. So I also went through, I have examples from the Nature Conservancy for all of the networks to show you some of the stuff that they're doing. Um, they are obviously a very large organization, so it's sort of like looking at Coca-Cola. So you guys can get some ideas from them too. But I would definitely suggest that you go find some things on some organizations, some companies on Facebook and Twitter, and follow what they're doing on there. So this is their page. Here's a couple of their recent posts. I loved this one. So this is for Movember. It doesn't really have a lot to do with their organization specifically, but they shared this hilarious picture about Movember, and they brought in an animal for that. And they got a lot of likes for that. So down here they had 1,200 people like it, which means all of the people who are friends with these 1,200 people saw this like in their stream, and they could go check it out. Also, 270 people shared it. So you really want people to like, comment, or share on your posts, because that's what gets the information about your organization out to other people who may not already be following you, because their friends will see them commenting or sharing these kind of things. That's why photos are really great for engagement, because people like to share them. They also did this. They're doing early bird donations, so they're trying to get people to donate. As I said, I know this is the time of year. And so they're just showing some information to get people to donate. And then this was just a, whoops, this was just a picture of a northern harrier. So a bird. It's a beautiful picture. But this is all it is. It just says nature photo of the week. It's this bird. Who took the picture and when it was. There's nothing else going on with this picture, and yet 3,000 people liked it and 620 people shared it just for this beautiful picture. So again, pictures can be really important, and this doesn't. They're not asking for a donation. They're not selling anything. They're not even joining in with the Movember. This is just a picture, and it got a huge amount of interaction. So again, remember, sometimes it's the little things like this that have a huge impact. So how often should you post on Facebook? I said regularly, of course. You want to do it at least 3 times a week, but you can do it more if you want to. The way the Facebook algorithm works, most people probably won't see all of the posts that you do. You don't want to do a ton of posts all at one time. You don't want to do the 3 posts all at the same time, because that can be annoying when people suddenly see all of your posts in their feed. So you want to spread them out a little bit so that people will keep looking back at what you're posting. So Twitter, we're going to move on to Twitter now. Twitter works just a lot like Facebook, except you have a limit to how much information you get to post. I would suggest looking on Twitter and see what conversations are going on. See if there are other organizations like yours, and there probably are, on Twitter. So if you use search.twitter.com, you can search for really anything that you're looking for and find that information on Twitter. You can find hashtags, you can find other organizations. So you need to pay attention to what's going on Twitter. And the thing about Twitter is that it moves pretty quickly. It moves faster than Facebook does generally. Um, so you want to pay attention to what's going on, what people are talking about. Just like on Facebook, you can still interact with what people are saying. So your posts on Facebook, all those people who are commenting or liking your posts, you can talk with them through your post. You can also respond directly to people through your post on Facebook. They recently made that change. So you can respond to a specific comment on one of your photos, for example, so that you're answering the right people. Twitter, you can also answer people. You just need to, you can retweet them, retweet them. You can direct message them if you want to. Twitter just changed so you don't have to be following someone to direct message them. So that might work out for your benefit, having people ask questions directly through Twitter rather than having to follow you first in order to have any kind of interaction with you. But just like on Facebook, you need to engage with what's going on Twitter. So if somebody asks a question, you want to make sure you answer it. If you ask a question, make sure you pay attention to people's responses. And the way you do that is retweeting or just responding to what people have said. And it goes in the stream. People can see it, but they can also see that you're active on Twitter. And that's what's important is people can see that you're there. So if they do have a question about an event that you're talking about or something that's coming up, they'll know you'll be able to answer that information. Just like Facebook, Twitter has business pages, business help for nonprofits specifically. Again, a little bit like Facebook, they do push their paid posts as well as just like Facebook does, but there's still suggestions on how to be successful with your nonprofit on Twitter. Again, just like Facebook, you want to tweet regularly, and you're going to need to do it more often than you do on Facebook because that stream moves really fast. Use hashtags, and I'm going to cover this. I know there's a question about that, and I'm going to cover this in a second when I show you some examples, and we'll talk a little bit more about hashtags there. Increasing Twitter engagement is just like Facebook or any other social network. You need to have interesting and engaging content. You need to share stuff that your followers are going to be really interested in. So not only what's going on with your organization, but other interesting stuff. And it's basically a lot like what you would be sharing on Facebook. So you can share pictures, you can share videos, and like I showed in my example at the beginning with Starbucks, Twitter's changed it. So just like on Facebook, content you share needs to be something that's interesting. And again, you don't have to come up with all of this yourself. If there's a blog post that you think will be really interesting, if there's a website that your followers might really like, share that kind of information. Also, to help you get started with Twitter, find other organizations or companies that you like, that you find have interesting stuff, and you can retweet some of that information. So if you're part of a larger organization, that's probably a no-brainer. You know, use the information that they're tweeting, retweet that. But beyond that, there could be other things that will be interesting as well. So make sure that you're sharing that kind of information on Twitter because those people will also see that you're retweeting them and start following you, and that can help build up your presence on Twitter. If somebody mentions your organization in a tweet, you can retweet and thank them or just share any information that people are sharing with you. So let's take a look at a couple of things, and I'll show you what the hashtag is. So for example, this has a hashtag here. So a hashtag, and they are using this on Facebook, not quite to the extent that they're using it on Twitter. It's also used on Instagram, but it started on Twitter. The hashtag is this right here. It's the number sign and then a word, and there can't be any space in the word. So if it's more than one word, you need to put no spaces in there. But basically what it does is organize conversations that are happening. So one of the things that you can do if you're having an event is to create a hashtag so that if people are going to be talking about your event or your organization, you can have your own hashtag. And again, if you do search.twitter.com, you can see if the hashtag you want to use is already being used, because that can confuse people if you use the same hashtag that someone else is using. Your stream will have some interesting things going on. But by having a hashtag for your organization or for a specific event that you're having, it makes it easier for your Twitter followers to find what you're talking about. So you can just click, you could click on this, it's a link. You can look for that hashtag, and then everything you're looking at in your stream is just going to be related to that particular hashtag. So it makes it really easy to find information. But again, they're sharing different information. So this is something that they retweeted. This is something that they're sharing photos that they have at their Facebook page, and that's something else you can do on Twitter is share photos from different places, including a Pinterest board if you have Pinterest. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with Twitter. You can't set up the page quite like you can on Facebook, but you can put your logo up there, and then people will know that they're coming to the right place. And here is the Nature Conservancy. Again, I can't fit how wide these things are on my tiny slides. But here is, again, something that the Nature Conservancy retweeted. So you can share information that people are talking about that your followers will like. And here somebody tagged Nature Conservancy, and this shows up in their stream because the @nature_org is their Twitter handle. And then this one, again, here's a picture that they have in the stream. You don't have to click on the link and go to another page to look at the pictures anymore. They come up through here. So how often should you tweet? Regularly. That's going to be the answer for all of these. You need to do it several times a week, but probably once a day is the best. Again, because that stream moves really fast and people might miss your tweets. But you could do it more than once a day if you wanted to, depending on how engaged people are and how many people are following you. Again, if you do it too often, people will get tired of seeing your tweets, but you can do it a couple times a day, and on Twitter, that's not excessive. So let's talk a little bit about Pinterest. We have Pinterest, and the last one we're going to talk about is Google+, and then I can take your questions. So Pinterest has become one of the biggest social media networks, just behind Facebook. I think it's surpassed Twitter for a number of users. It is a very big social media network, and it's all visual, so you need to have great pictures. And again, they don't have to be your pictures. That's the fun thing about Pinterest, is that there are lots of images that are going around, and you can have pictures that are interesting to your followers but not specific to your organization. And I have an example to show you what I'm talking about there. But on Pinterest, you can do things like share your emails if you have an email. If you have an infographic, or you find an infographic that's pertinent to what your organization is doing, you can pin that. Just like all the other ones, you want to pin regularly. If there's a board that's really popular that has something to do with what your organization is doing, if they have an open board, you can pin on that. There are some that are open. Sometimes you need an invitation, but you can get that. Just like on Facebook or on Twitter, where you can repost from another organization or retweet, you can repin from another organization as well. And again, people can see that as you start pinning, your name starts coming up more and more, and you can get some more interest in what you're doing on Pinterest. Just like on Facebook or Twitter, you want to follow relevant pinners. So people who have things that your followers are going to find interesting, it makes it easy for you to find stuff to share with your followers as well. Pinterest has just this year come out with a couple of great tools for businesses. So they have business.pinterest.com. They also have examples of nonprofits that are successful on Pinterest. So far, they aren't charging for ads, so for pins. I think they're going to start doing that soon, though. So they aren't going to talk a whole lot about trying to get you to spend money by promoting your pins, but that's coming. They also recently added analytics, which I didn't talk about too much on the other ones, but With a page on Facebook, you get analytics, so you can see which posts are most popular. Twitter has analytics, and Pinterest just came out with analytics. So you can see what pins are really popular and the ones that people are repinning, so that you can pin whatever you want, but you also want to be having those kind of pins that people really respond to, so that your name gets out there in the Pinterest stream. For Pinterest, create boards for all different kinds of things. There isn't a limit to the number of boards you have. So create some fun boards. If you have an intern, have your intern create a board for things that they're finding interesting right now. You could have a board for the books that everybody's reading in the office. Things like that don't necessarily have anything to do with your organization per se, but it just kind of gives people insight into what you're doing. You can have things, of course, for like donating, infographics, stuff like that. When you send out your emails, make sure you have a pin it button in there so people can pin the things that you're sharing. They also have on the goodies page, they have a widget that you can put in your browser. So if you find things when you're out on the internet, you can pin it so that you can share that right away. If you're selling something, and again, some nonprofits do sell items, make sure when you're creating your pin that you add the price for it on there, and then it'll show up with the banner that has the price for the thing that you're selling. Also, by adding a price to a pin, it shows up in the gift section, which is just a category that Pinterest automatically has, and the gift section will have your pin show up there, and that's just something that happens, which can get the word out there as well. So here are some boards. This one has things to do in West Michigan because they're from West Michigan. So that's kind of a fun idea. You can do things going on in your specific region or your area, inspiring things, things that are helpful to the people who are in your organization or people that you serve. So there's a lot of things that you can pin. And again, there's no limit to the number of boards that you have. So here's the Nature Conservancy, which has a lot of boards. They have 21 boards. So I took some screenshots of the things that they have, but here's Kids in Nature, decorate your desktop. So they're just pretty pictures that you can use on your computer. Bird of the Month. They have all of these different boards that are related to what they do, but not specifically about them. They also have this, take action. So here is where you can have donation information. They even have a board of nonprofits on Pinterest. So you can create boards for whatever you find interesting, anything that your followers will find interesting. And as you pin, it comes up in that stream. So there'll be two places people could see your pin. If they're following you, and there's this follow button, if they're following you, they'll see that when they log into their Pinterest account, they'll see all the most recent pins, and your pin will be in there. So they'll see you being active, and they can interact with you. The other is just the Pinterest stream that isn't specific to the people that you're following, and you can go take a look at that as well, and your pin will be there again. So that will be the people who aren't currently following you who could find you there. Also, this type of stuff that you're doing on your Pinterest board can get picked up by Google. So if people are doing a search, you can come up just based on the information that you're pinning. So you might want to keep that in mind as well. How often should I pin? Again, regularly. You want to pin a couple times a week. You probably don't want to pin 20 things all at one time because that will clog up people's streams and they find that really annoying. But again, the more often you're pinning, the more often your name is going to come up in the Pinterest stream and people can see that information. So Google Plus. Google Plus is an interesting thing because Google is still trying to get a lot of people to use this. And so not everybody is there, but quite a few people are using Google right now, or Google Plus right now. The thing about Google Plus is that it has Google behind it. And Google is really making a push to get people using Google Plus, and so they've really incorporated a lot of their products into Google Plus, and they're really pushing using Google Plus. So I'm going to show you a couple things that having at least a moderately active Google Plus account can get you on Google search. Google Plus is just like sharing on anything else. Share pictures, share videos, share what's going on, share similar things that are happening on your Facebook page. It's the same kind of idea. Again, people interact with your pictures and videos more when you share that kind of information on social media. So it's no different for Google Plus. It's the same kind of content that you would put on Facebook or on Twitter. Also, it can help with your SEO. You can share information from your website, and you can have your links set up in your Google Plus profile, and that can help people find you when they do a search on Google. They also have help for their pages, google.com+/learn more/nonprofits, and that's for nonprofits using Google Plus. That's what the little plus in the URL here is indicating it's Google Plus, but they do have help as well. So all of these social media networks have help for using their system if you're a business, and most of them also have specific help for nonprofits. Google Plus works slightly differently than some of the other ones. They have this whole idea of circles, and so you can create circles and put certain people in those circles. And then when you post something, you can select what circles to share it with. So for example, I have a circle for the people at work. I have a circle for just people I know, and I have a circle for knitters because I'm a knitter and I'm in a group. And so I can share a post about knitting just to the knitters, and the people at work don't have to see that because they don't necessarily want to see that. So the thing about circles is that you can share specific information with specific groups of people, and then that way no one has to see things that aren't relevant to what you're doing. And just like the other social networks, you can follow people and they don't have to follow you back. The same with you. People can follow you on Google Plus and you don't have to follow them back. You're not obligated to. And, especially if you're posting things for your organization. I post things for my business or for Vertical Response, so the business I work at. And I get a lot of people following me on Google Plus, and I'm like, who is that? And then I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. They can't see anything unless I let them. So it's fine if people you don't know are following you and you're sharing specific things about what's coming up in your organization. Just like any social network, respond to any posts that people have or comments or questions that come up on your Google Plus page. Google Plus also has hashtags. Again, hashtags are really big on Twitter and they're moderately-ish used on the other ones. Instagram probably uses them more than any of the other ones besides Twitter. So there are hashtags on Google Plus right now. They're not doing a whole lot, but they will. Again, just post regularly, post great content. The thing is that Google Plus is pushing, or Google is pushing Google Plus. And so more and more people are going to be coming here. So if you've already established yourself on Google Plus by the time they all arrive, you're going to look like a pro. You can share different things on Google Plus if you want to than what you're sharing on Facebook, for example, just to kind of split up what's going on, but you don't necessarily have to. Again, everything that you would normally share on social networks, you can share on Google Plus. So here's what I wanted to show you about using Google Plus and the Google search, which is important for your business. So if I do a search for vertical response, this is where I work. This arrow is pointing to, this is the right side of the page, and this is pointing to vertical response, and this is showing that vertical response is in one of my circles on Google Plus. So in my search, it comes up. Google Plus comes up. Plus, there's some more information, but it shows that I'm in their circle, or they're in my circle. Here's the Nature Conservancy. I did a search for them. It shows how many people are following them on Google+. It gives me the option to follow them right here, and it will take me to their page. So not only do you get the normal search results, you also get the Google+ results, which means that some more people could find you as well. And here's the Google Plus page for the Nature Conservancy. And again, they have shared similar things from their Facebook page, but it looks very much the same. They have a picture, they have the post. This was also on their Facebook page, but it wasn't in the okay, I'm getting weird feedback. It wasn't on the screenshot that I took, but you can see, you can share different things just like you would on Facebook, and you can see some of the people in circles. How often should you post? As often as you like. There aren't a ton of people out there right now. I mean, there are quite a few, but you probably aren't going to be annoying anyone yet. So post regularly. You know, if you're posting on Facebook, post on your Google Plus page. So there are some advantages to being on Google Plus, even if you're not quite as active on Google Plus as you are on, say, Facebook, because it's growing and there will be people coming soon. So just a couple things to wrap up. Make sure that when you're promoting things about your organization, you're also talking about where you can be found on social networks. So that means including in an email the social networks that you're in, on your website, if you have a blog, anywhere that you're doing any kind of marketing about your organization, include all those icons for the networks where you can be found. If people are looking for you and they can't find you, or they don't know that you're on Facebook, then it might be hard for them to come and get you. But you can ask people to follow you on any social network, but a lot of times you need to give them a reason. What information are they going to get from your Facebook page that they don't get from your website or from your email or whatever? So anything that you can do differently through a social network, make sure you tout that information when you're trying to get people to follow you. Just a couple things. Not all of the social networks are going to work for every business or organization. So make sure you're going to one that makes sense for you and for your followers. So make sure you're going where people are there. It's really important on social to listen to what people are saying to you and also respond or start a conversation. It on Facebook, it's really easy to have conversations. You can start by asking a question and people will start responding, and so it's pretty easy. It's a little bit more difficult to do that kind of thing on Pinterest, but you can. Twitter, also, you just have to keep up with what's happening on your page on Twitter and respond. But people need to know that you're there and that you can see what they're saying. So if somebody asks a question, make sure you're answering that so that they know that you're there. If you're looking for help, there's tons of information. Not only do we have help, but you can always just ask on any of the networks, hey, have you guys ever seen this before? And people will answer. There are people I follow on Facebook, businesses I follow on Facebook that will post questions about Facebook sometimes because they know that they may not be experts on Facebook, but plenty of their followers are on it all day long. So if you're finding something odd, you can ask your followers. So I have some resources here. We have lots of free resources available. If you go to our website, verticalresponse.com, and then just click the tab that says resources, you can see free guides and free recorded webinars. And these are two that can help you get started with social media. We also have recorded webinars, Facebook 101, Facebook 202, Twitter for your business, that type of information. And they all have info on how to get started using these and how to be successful. Also, our blog, we post 4 times a week on our blog, and there is information on there for getting started with social networks. There's tons and tons of information. Again, it's all free. So just go take a look at that. You can even download our guides or watch the videos without putting in your emails. We won't know what you're doing. So feel free to go take a look at what we have there. There's a lot.